Oh, welcome everybody to WagerTalk Today. I'm Lawrence Presman, and we've got such a great show for you all. You are going to hear from Marco D'Angelo first up. He's going to give you actionable betting information on the Cubs and the New York Mets, the San Francisco Giants and the Los Angeles Angels. Bryan Leonard joining us after that. He's going to take apart the Minnesota-Detroit game and the Toronto Blue Jays versus the Cleveland Guardians. And Drew Martin at the end of the show. Stick with our baseball. LA Dodgers, Padres, and the Giants and Angels. Great show. You're watching the best daily all sports betting show on the planet. And ladies and gentlemen, he's back. Teddy Covers. It's been a long time, my friend. I have never had such a good summer. My God. You know, when you remove Teddy, things get better. How weird is that?
It's funny. That's not what I heard from the feedback that I was getting about the show while I was gone, Lawrence. But I appreciate the kind words. And it's good to be back in Las Vegas. Good to be back on Wager Talk today after a little bit of a summer break.
Guys, before we get into the show, Teddy last night says, Prez, I missed 2 haircut cycles. 2, not 1, 2. My hair looks ridiculous. I think your hair looks awesome, and I'd like to hear from everybody out there. Should Teddy cut his hair? I say no. Come on, when you got a head of hair that good, how do you cut it?
Well, I appreciate that, Lawrence, but it's not up for a vote. I live in Las Vegas. It's 110 degrees out. I'm not walking around with hair in the summer, dude. It's coming off. It's coming off.
Guys, it is a vote.
We drove, yeah. Oh, do you feel free to vote? It doesn't matter what the results of the vote are.
Okay. Wow, dude, you've got the Eugene Levy eyebrow thing going today. I like it.
Thank you. I've always been a Eugene Levy fan.
Anything else I can bug you about? So how was your trip?
Are we doing a Teddy being tan, rested, and ready right now? Because I feel like I am. I mean, it's 25 years in Vegas. And the last time I took a trip like that was after my first year. Was after the 98, 99 cycle. Was the last time I took a month off. But we went to Utah, Colorado, Chicago, Michigan on the road out. Hang out by the river in Michigan all the time. Drove back using the southern route, through Missouri and Oklahoma, the Panhandle of Texas, New Mexico, Arizona. The entire time in Michigan, Prez, under 80 degrees. It rained at least a little bit almost every day. Truly perfect weather. I hung out by the river, hung out on the lake. I saw some old friends. I smoked some pot. I took 9 days to get to Michigan. And after the first weekend, I felt refreshed and relaxed and ready to get to work. So I spent an hour or two almost every day. The rest of the way getting some college prep up to speed. And now it's NFL preseason time. Tan, rested, and ready, Prez. No excuses. Time to get to work. It's money-making season, my friend.
There we go. Marco D'Angelo joining us, everyone. A co-founder of WagerTalk, one of the best handicappers alive. A wise, smart man. How are you, brother? Was that a nice intro? Did I give you some love?
Yeah, what the edible are you on? to show me love.
Love Poison 99. That I just made that up, but I think the mushrooms I took recently were called Penis Envy, which was quite an interesting name, to say the least. Anyway, dude, let's get straight into it. Surging Chicago Cubs in a playoff position, not yet, but in a playoff hunt all of a sudden. They're putting Drew Smyly on the mound. He's a problem for them, at least the last 5 games. Senga pitching for the New York Mets. Minus 135 for the Mets, a team that's lost, I think, 5 in a row. Tough for me to get there with the Mets, but with Smyly on the mound, I understand the line. How do we bet this game?
Well, I am taking the Chicago Cubs in this one, and this is simple. This is the time of the year you're going to have teams that are surging and teams that have just, hung it up and moving on, and it's the New York Mets. This is a team that hasn't won a game since they traded away Mad Max and Verlander, and there's no message that you can send bigger than we quit, we give up, than trading away your 2 superstar pitchers that you paid all that money for. And, oh, by the way, you're picking up some of the contract to get rid of them. I want no part of the Mets right now. They've lost 6 in a row. And yes, Drew Smiley, he's somebody that's not been dominant, but the way the Cubs are hitting the baseball right now and the way the Mets aren't, and looking at the Mets pitching as well, I'm on the Cubs here. This is just, as Teddy likes to say, ride the hot, fade the cold, whatever. That's the play here for me. And the New York Mets against left-handed starters this year, my last stat on the game, about just 11-26. They've been dismal in all categories, but a little extra dismal against lefties.
So we've seen a lot of money coming on the Chicago Cubs overnight and early betting action. I saw they were looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen. There was plus 125s out there at one point, plus 120. Now I'm seeing many books you're even laying a price with Chicago, or you're not getting a plus money with the Cubs anymore. At the current number, even if you didn't get the best of the number, at the current number, Chicago still offers some value, Marco?
There's no question, Teddy, we lost value overnight on the play. But to be honest with you, how do you even make the Mets a favorite in this game? I mean, that's my whole thing here. When I saw the number, it was almost one of those, oh, this is almost too good to be true, but I just can't do it. Yeah, would I like to have had more, plus more? We all would. But you know what? I'll still cash a ticket at this number.
Marco D'Angelo joining us. Marco, before we get into your next game, Texas versus Oakland, what do you got to promote for the clients? It's $9 Mondays.
$9 Monday, I got a big 4% play up. We've been red hot with those 4 and 5% plays on a nice little 71% run the last 10 days. And long term with those plays, last 20 plus months, guys, up over $9,200 playing $100 per unit. And today, normally you'd be paying $25. You get it for just $9, coming off a strong winning week last week, netting over 13 units. So let's keep it rolling tonight in Major League Baseball.
There we go. Marco, Oakland hosting Texas. Texas 2.5 games up on Houston. Dane Dunning on the mound. Minus 205 here. Over and under of 8.5. Where are we going?
Well, we're not going to lay the 205 with Texas. We're going to lay the 1.5, and a couple reasons for that. One, we got a road team laying the 1.5, so we're going to be guaranteed our 9 at-bats, and we want all those at-bats when you're laying the 1.5 runs. Also, we're looking at Dane Dunning, although he had 2 mediocre starts, 2 and 3 back. In his last one, he was just dealing it. He went 7 innings in that one, only gave up, went 7 2/3 actually, and was a strong performance, giving up 1 run. But the indicator for me, as I always say, I like to look at those strikeout to walk ratios. 11-1 in that one tells me he was had all his pitches full command that night. And against this Oakland team that can't score runs, yeah, they scored 8 runs yesterday, but in their previous 5 games, they only scored 8 runs total. So I'm going to go ahead, lay the runs here with Texas, minus the 1.5. That brings that price down significantly, laying it with them. In Oakland, we don't talk a lot about situational spots in baseball, but beating San Francisco in that 2-game series, sweeping it and coming from behind yesterday, if there was ever a team ripe for a letdown, here it is. And the last stat for you on it, as bad as Oakland's been all year, where they've been their worst is in division play. They're just 5-26 against division opponents. Take Texas. They're surging. They're hitting the baseball. Ride the hot team. That's the theme today.
So here's my question, Marco. With a team like Oakland, whose season was lost basically in April, they were done in April. Is there a chance that a team like the A's you'll be able to make money with in August and or September? Or is this they're a god awful team? Because I look at Oakland, they won their last 2, they're 4-4 in their last 8. There's potential profit with very bad teams when the markets have just given up on them. And it feels like that with Oakland right now. Do you see that at all? Or is it, look, this team's not winning 3 games in a row. They haven't done it all year.
No, You're absolutely right, Teddy. And I actually had this conversation yesterday with the next guest you got coming on, talking about Oakland, because they are going to be, every opponent's going to be overpriced against them. Yeah, long term, I would venture to say if you bet Oakland the rest of the season, you're going to show a profit. But we're picking spots. And this is a spot after the game yesterday against San Francisco. You know the rivalry with Oakland and San Francisco. Oakland's always been the redheaded stepchild in the Bay Area there. Winning those two games, this is just a great spot. And they're putting a pitcher out there that's been hit harder than a piñata. So I'm going to go ahead and take those bats with Texas. It's the spot tonight.
Marco D'Angelo, everyone. Guys, it's $9 Mondays at WagerTalk. Any handicapper, all their plays, only $9. Take advantage of that. Marco's got a play up tonight. He's on a 71% run in his last 10 days on these 4% and 5% plays, so please check that out. Marco, wonderful hanging, brother. Thanks for doing this. Awesome job. Now, please leave us alone.
See you guys.
Teddy covers. I want to welcome everybody into the chat room. Jerbaka, RJ, Jackie Morris, Ray Domingo, Brendan Leinhardt. I haven't seen your name, nor Charles Farabee. Nice to see you guys. Greg, West, Childhood, Steven, all of you guys. Really appreciate you coming in. A lot of people, Teddy, did mention that you look really refreshed, and you do, dude. You've got nice color. It looks like your face is did you inject filler? Was that really like you weren't on vacation, you went to Turkey and you injected yourself with face filler? You just look.
Yeah, it was. I had a big nose job and collagen and all that stuff. Yeah, that's what I've been recuperating from that. No, Lawrence. No collagen injections here, buddy. I appreciate
good though,
words,
dude.
But I'm telling you, I haven't had a break like that in 25 years. I do feel rested and ready. I do feel different psychologically than when I left. Now it's first day back jitters today, you know.
Yeah.
And this is again, I haven't been off air this long in or anything. So I feel like I'm a little jumpy today. I'm not yet in my proper rhythm, but mentally behind the scenes, you know, I feel pretty good now. And I expect the time off to pay dividends with my handicap.
Yeah. Well, I expect as the co-founder of WagerTalk, I expect and hope for that as well, Teddy. So what did bettors learn, or did we already discuss it? I'm just excited. I'm excited, yeah. Man. I'm excited.
Yeah, you look very excited, Lawrence. That grimace on your face. Yeah, Flex Mondays now. But so in terms of what bettors learned, I was going to talk about my summer break. I think you asked me that at the top of the show, so we don't need to do it again here. I'm happy to recap. I'm happy to recap it again, but that's got to be rearview mirror. I can't be thinking about summer break anymore. You know, time on the lake, time on the river, that's all gone now. It's time to get to work. So let's do it right here with Bryan Leonard.
Yes, sir. Bryan Leonard joining us, everyone. And Bri, how are you, man? What's going on? How's your summer? Did you get any break?
I actually did. We had friends that had moved to Maine, and I'd never been to that part of the country before. So the wife and I went up there, and similar to Teddy, it rained just about every day. In fact, it rained 36 straight hours, and we didn't know what the hell to do. We're stuck in the house. I live in Vegas. I'm never stuck in the house. Even if it's 120 degrees, I can go out and do something. And then I realized why I moved to Vegas, because I used to play softball back in Ohio, and I played here in Vegas. But in Ohio, you wait all day. You go, is it going to rain? Is it going to rain? Am I going to be able to play? Should I get ready? You don't have to worry about that when you live out in the sun out here in Las Vegas.
Yeah. So what did you end up doing for 36 hours stuck inside? You know what? We don't want to hear the answer.
Yeah, it's not what you thought. No,
yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, well, let's move on. Let's definitely
TMI
move on.
right there.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Teddy, man, you're getting some love in the chat room. What did you sign up a whole bunch of bots that went into the chat room to give you love? What's going on?
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Good to be back.
Bri, let's get into this.
A bunch of bots.
Let's give all baseball today, Bri. Minnesota Twins playing Detroit. Plus 140 for Detroit, minus 180 for Minnesota. And Well, Minnesota finally getting going again. 4 wins in a row, 3 swept Arizona. I think they're 3 up, 3.5 up on Cleveland. They're playing Detroit. This Detroit team, honestly, better record than I expected. And here they are at home as a dog. How do we bet this game?
Yeah, Marco was talking about getting together and talking about something yesterday. We were actually out at the sportsbook watching this game, and the 2 guys sitting next to us were against us. We both had Minnesota, and the other guys had Arizona. I'm not used to that because I don't spend a lot of time in the sportsbook, but we didn't deserve that game. Minnesota won that game yesterday with a walk-off homer, but they didn't deserve it. If you take a look at that game, and you got to admit, when you win a lucky one, it was lucky. But they had 16 base runners in that game, 8 stolen bases, and yet the Diamondbacks only managed 3 runs. Looking at today's game, Minnesota ranks 27th in baseball in WRC plus versus lefties. They're 14% worse than league average. Coming off of that big win they didn't deserve yesterday and now facing a lefty, I want to fade Minnesota here. Joey Wentz returned from the IL with a very good game versus the Marlins. He was gone for a month. He's had injury problems throughout his career, but I happen to think this guy's a little bit better than what a lot of people think. If you take a look at his advanced stats, he's due for some positive regression. I think this is a good spot here for Detroit. No doubt the Twins are the better team. They should be the favorite here, but we're getting the Tigers at home in a price range that I think has some value. And the Twins haven't hit lefties, so if we get any kind of offense out of Detroit today, this is a nice underdog play at home for the Tigers.
So when you have a team like Minnesota that's all of a sudden hot and they're winning games, they played good ball over the last week. I know they struggle against lefties, but do you worry about stepping in front of a hot team with a bottom feeder? We kind of talked about the other side of this earlier in the show with Marco when we talked about the Rangers and the A's. Talk about this side of the equation. You know, here's a Minnesota team that's hot and not priced ridiculously high against a Tigers team that, you know, you take the wins when you can get them with Detroit. Talk about that thought process.
I'm not so sure Minnesota's hot. They're 5-5 their last 10. I know they won their last 4, but they haven't been overly impressive. If you watch enough baseball, and I watch a ton of baseball, Teddy, you watch a ton of football. That's your sport. You're very good at that, and you gain things by doing that. By watching a lot of baseball, I can tell if a situation arises where the team gets a win they didn't deserve, or something happens that you know shouldn't have got the victory. And being able to do that really helps, especially if you're into fantasy baseball. You know all about all the players. You know who's hot, who's not. It definitely helps in your handicapping. And so Minnesota, they're a team that's playing better, but 5-5 the last 10. I'm not sure if they're playing well, and they get a big advantage because Cleveland's thrown in the towel. So they don't need to win the games as much as they did earlier in the season. Luckily for them, they're in the worst division in baseball.
Bryan, you said something interesting, and we have a moment to dabble into it. I used to play fantasy football a lot. I was in many leagues. I ended up quitting all my fantasy football leagues. I haven't played fantasy football in 3 years now. It was completely messing up my betting. It had the total. At first, I was like, this is great. I follow the players. I'll know more information. And ultimately, it got me too emotionally invested. It messed up my thought process. And I ended up having to quit fantasy football because I felt like it was messing up my betting. You feel the other way, right?
Well, I don't do fantasy basketball. I don't do fantasy football. I'm just too busy those times of the year. Baseball, for the most part, is the one sport going on, full time. You've got other overlapping sports, but yeah, I agree. There's no way I could be betting on a football game, and it's even bad when you go out to the sports books. You've got money on the games. The guy behind you needs 7 points from his running back to win his game that week. I don't give a shit about that. I want, the guy's cheering on one player on the team. Yeah, it's not something that I do, but I can understand what you're saying. There's a lot going on. It's a busy sport.
I'm curious, our listeners, put Put up in the comment section what you think about that. Does playing fantasy help or hinder your betting? Teddy, you're not a fantasy player, right?
I'm not, but if you play fantasy, you're wired into the props market.
Yeah, that's a good
certainly.
point. Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to have a natural edge in theory betting props, game in, game out in the NFL, if you're putting that type of time into fantasy football. But I have to think most of our audience is betting the props and betting the games and less fantasy at this stage of the week. I could be wrong. But when there's money on each individual player in each individual game, that's the juice that people like a little bit more now than, at the end of the season, you guys will get rewarded.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, we're in the TikTok age, right? So if you can get paid every 2 minutes, that beautiful.
It's like betting the Super Bowl. We go out and we play all these Super Bowl props. You watch the game, you can't enjoy the game because you've got so much going on. It's like, did I win that? Did I lose that? Does that help me? And it's tougher to me to enjoy a game doing that.
Yeah. Bryan Leonard joining us, everyone. You can find him at WagerTalk.com, an unbelievable sports bettor. Let's get into this Cleveland-Toronto game. And, Marco came on and he spoke about the New York Mets, and he talked about how they sold their 2 top players. He wants nothing to do with them. Well, this Cleveland team is not only in the same boat, but they're verbally pissed off. They were furious that management, quote unquote, gave up on the season. They were only a couple of games out of winning their division. Since then, they've done nothing. They've 5-1 in their last 6 games, 3-6 to the under. Toronto 1-9 to the under in their last 10 games. Nobody would have thought that with their lineup, but they are rolling. They just swept Boston. Ryu's on the mound. He looked okay last game. It was an acceptable outing. And now he's facing Gavin Williams, who's just pitching lights out right now. I got to think the under is in play here. I'm curious where you're going.
Well, Toronto did score 13 runs, I think, yesterday. So
yes.
But yeah, you're right. You stole a lot of my analysis on this game, and I appreciate that. That's no problem. No, I'll just go over it anyway. But they're a team I'm looking to fade. I talked about that in the last game we discussed. Cleveland right now, despite being in the midst of the playoff race, management decided to trade away a starting pitcher and their starting first baseman. The only player they added to the major league roster was Noah Syndergaard, who was just a shell of his former self. I couldn't understand why they brought him in. The Dodgers do such a great job of getting everything they can out of these pitchers. They couldn't do a thing with Syndergaard, and he's a guy who can't keep people on base. They steal second and steal third on him all the time. He just does not have the ability to keep people on base. And the first game he pitched for Cleveland, luckily there was only like 2 or 3 base runners because he was having a great game, and so nobody could steal off of him. Well, once he has one of those games where he's not exceptionally good, which is going to be most of the time, teams are going to run wild on him. Cleveland doesn't have a catcher that can throw people out, so keep that in mind. Teddy talked about props. Bet stolen bases against Syndergaard whenever he's in the game. But it got even worse over the weekend. We all saw it. Jose Ramirez getting into the fight with Tim Anderson. Worked out really well for Chicago. They had the worst hitter in Major League Baseball that starts every day. And Cleveland has a guy who's always going for the MVP. Cleveland loses Ramirez, and then they lose to Allen or Anderson. So that's a big advantage for Chicago going forward. But the suspensions will probably be coming out later today. So we may get a point here where we're going to see Jose Ramirez out of the lineup. The closer is probably going to be out of the lineup. So they'll both be suspended. So you've got a situation in Cleveland where they were very mad about the way the management did everything coming into the trade deadline. And they also lost Josh Naylor, their second best hitter. He's out for 6 to 8 weeks. So it's a team right now that I want no part of Cleveland. Cleveland ranks 29th in baseball in WRC plus versus Southpaws. You mentioned Ryu. I watched that game. I got Ryu on one of my fantasy teams, and no, he did not look that great. But there was a lot of bad, soft hits that would go for singles and everything. And he pitched really well. It is all of his starts going into the minor leagues, going up. It is getting ready for the season. So I think we get Ryu here at a good price. I want no part of Cleveland. And right now, if you bet Toronto, and then all of a sudden Cleveland, and they decide to suspend the two big players for Cleveland, that line's going to shoot up. So I like Toronto here.
So when you're of our age, Brian, maybe one of the seminal baseball movies is Major League. We've all seen Major League, and the basic story behind the movie is management's trying to destroy the team, and the players are like, "Well, we don't care. We're going to play good anyway." Doesn't that happen? Isn't there some semblance of reality in that, like, management's trading guys away, and sometimes the teams will come together when that happens? Is there? And of course, that was in Cleveland, which is what made me think of it. But is it an automatic bet against when the team's bitching about what management's doing, or are there times where a team can kind of find some fire in their bellies because of what management has just done?
Yeah, they could. You've got to take every team on an individual basis. The thing about Cleveland was, and I'm a Guardian. Well, I'm a Cleveland fan. I'm not a Guardians fan. I'm a Cleveland fan. I'm still going to call them the Indians. But I watch all the games, and the trades they made, other than the Syndergaard, was the right thing to do. Cleveland, the winner of the Central Division, the last 3 years, I believe, have gotten swept in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And one year they had two teams make the playoffs. They're not going to win the World Series the way this team is done right now. They were smart moves. They brought in a first baseman of the future. They got rid of some bad contracts. They traded away Bell. That was a bad contract. If you're a Cleveland fan, the management did the right thing. If you're a player on the team, you don't feel the same way because you have confidence in yourself. But this Cleveland team's not very good. They only had like 2 or 3 good hitters on the team. They get good pitching. They weren't going to win the World Series this year. I like the trade as a fan of Cleveland. The players obviously feel differently.
Bryan Leonard, everyone, up 47 net winners in his last 40 underdog selections. It's $9 Monday. What do you got going for the clients?
Well, I'm on 2 shows today, this one and the baseball show. I'm going to Bet Bash down at the Circa this week. They've got a seminar down there, so that'll be a lot of fun. So I had to put everything up in one day. So I've got 2 plays here that I gave out. I've got a free play I've given out on the site. We won the last 6 free plays, by the way. And then I've got 2 more additional plays I'm giving out on the baseball show today. Out of these 4 plays, one of them is a 4% play, and that's what I'm selling to clients today. Normally I give it out for free, but I have a little bit of a guessing game today. So but 1 play up, and keep in mind the last 13 days, we've only had 1 losing day. Now, unfortunately, we went 0-3. We had 1 day that we pushed. The other 11 days were all profitable. So we're on a really nice streak right now. So let's keep it going. And like I said, we've got 6 straight winners on the website for the free plays. Everything's going really well right now.
Awesome stuff, Bryan Leonard, everyone. Teddy, we are minutes away from your big game breakdown. Minutes, seconds. But before we get into that, I need to talk about Nick Borman for a sec. Chris Allen, if you're listening, cut this up. I want to tweet it out a little later. So firstly, huge shout out to Kevin Stevenson and Lucas Glover. These are 2 clients of Wager Talks, and they both tweeted out a thank you to Nick. Kevin Stevenson writes, the key to success in life is knowing when you need to get a guy. Well, he bought Nick Borman for 3 weeks, and Nick delivered a 125-1 and an 80-1 winner, both in golf, 125-1 and 80-1 winner. Lucas Glover sent in his betting slip to Wager Talk. This past weekend, Teddy, Lucas Glover bet $5. Nick Borman made him $550 on top of that $5. No, Lucas Glover was the golfer. I'm a moron. One of our listeners sent in, it happens, Teddy. It happens. One of our listeners sent in their betting slip. They bet $5 on Lucas Glover to win. They won $5.55. This Nick Borman, way to go, man. Congratulations. Outstanding stuff. And really a perfect example of why WagerTalk.com is so great and our experts are so amazing, especially in what they do. Teddy, anything to add other than my mess up?
There's something fun about cashing long shot tickets. Well, it's more than fun. It's profitable. Like cashing long shot tickets in any sport. But then golf, when you have an 80-1 come through and then what was it, 120-1 come through in a 3-week span, kudos to Nick. And of course, you can get on board with any of his packages, short-term, long-term, over at WagerTalk.com.
Yeah. Nothing like the Prez messing up every segment. Teddy, it's time. Big game breakdown.
Okay, let's do it. Big game breakdown for Monday, August 7th. Let's look ahead to this weekend's NFL preseason action. Talk about the San Francisco 49ers traveling right here to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. Right now, look at the Wager Talk live odds screen. I'm seeing kind of a split line for San Fran. You can find -4 or -4.5. Total sitting about 36. Sunday afternoon football. We'll have at least one football game on each of the next 25 Sundays till the week before the Super Bowl. Now, let me start with this. My standard home field edge in the NFL preseason is 0. Okay. Really few exceptions to that rule, especially with 2 returning coaches, nothing to prove in week 1 of the preseason. My home field edge here is 0. And my NFL preseason rule at -3 or higher, we need a bet on and a bet against to lay the chalk. I think we might have that here. All right. Shanahan's a bet on coach in the preseason. All right. Everyone knows about San Fran's QB rotation. They have the best quarterback rotation of any team. But it doesn't matter if they're not going to throw the football, except that the 49ers run games are really exceptional. They've been very good in August. Last 3 seasons, 2-1, 2-1, 3-1 straight up. 6 of the 7 wins came by a touchdown or more. So we certainly have plenty of bet on for San Fran from a defensive standpoint, a new DC, lots of quality defensive depth. You know, the quote, here's one from Fred Warner about the defensive transition with the new coordinator. It's been a seamless transition. He's coming and taking a hold of everything, and we all respect the heck out of him already. So we have the bet on for San Fran. For Vegas, last year, Josh McDaniels was a bet on 4-0 straight up and against the spread, his first season with the Raiders. But we're talking about a new DC, a second-year DC, a second-year OC, quarterbacks in Garoppolo and Hoyer who don't necessarily need a ton of time. We're going to see a lot of rookie Aiden O'Connell in this ballgame. And I don't know that Aiden O'Connell's a guy that I necessarily want my money on. I understand McDaniels did well last year, but it's not like his long-term track record as a head coach is bet on in August. So this is a spot where you might want to lay it. I certainly wouldn't take it. San Fran, shop for the -4s. They're still available right now, but they merit being favorites in Vegas on Sunday. Look at the Niners, -4, and there's your big game breakdown. Prez?
Yeah, Teddy, I like the under in that game. I think San Fran is going to hold back on their offensive creativity, especially at the beginning of preseason, and I don't see I don't see Vegas scoring a lot. So 36 seems like a high number to me. I think the under is in play.
And for what it's worth, that total opened 37.5, and one of the first line. We'll talk about all the line moves on the NFL opening line report coming up. We'll record it at the top of the hour. It'll come out. It'll be posted later in the day. But certainly that line opened, that total opened 37.5, and boom, right from the get-go, it got bet down to 36. So the sharp money agrees with you, Lawrence, that to expect a lower scoring affair.
Teddy Cover is back with his big game breakdown. Outstanding stuff. Guys, it's time for a betting strategy with Teddy and the Prez, and then Drew Martin after that. Dan, put that question up. Swing Aducci writes, would you ever parlay a 5% with a -200 or more favorite to bring down the odds? Well, this one is real easy for me, Teddy. Hell freaking no. Parlays are for losers. And just to let you know, I am going to be making a shirt. Parlays are for losers. Quote the Prez. There will be shirts this coming football season that will say parlays are for losers. I don't see any reason to do that whatsoever. If you just bet the damn play, man. Like, Teddy, any words here on this? Like, I mean, I don't even know why anyone would parlay it with a minus 200 to bring down the odds.
You used too many words already. The answer is no.
There we go. Guys, if you want us to answer your betting strategy questions, please put it up in the comment section of our YouTube videos. It's hard to come up with questions every single day. I get it, but we are here to answer these questions. We're happy to answer questions 10 times because clearly it is important to you guys, and we definitely are here to help. Teddy?
And let me just say one thing. Note the math on it. A minus 200 favorite is going to lose once in every 3 games.
Yeah.
So you're taking someone's best play, and you don't even get a huge odds boost. A minus 200 doesn't even you're not even getting an odds bonus. You know, it's the concept of parlaying the favorites in baseball or adding a favorite to a parlay to make it more juicy. I don't understand it. It's bad math. It's bad handicapping, and I would not recommend it. It's a flat, strong no.
There you go. Drew Martin joining us, everyone. And Drew also was on a little bit of vacay. You're looking healthy and rested, and obviously a hell of a lot better than Teddy, but that's, come on. How are you, my friend?
Prez, I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, a little rested and recuperated. And hey, I don't know what it is, man. It's part of my strength and it's part of my weakness here, Prez. But when I'm seeing it well, I'm seeing it well. And when I'm not, I'm streaky the wrong way. And right now, I'm seeing it clearly and cashing some tickets. So I'm feeling good and happy to break down some games with you two.
Well, let's start right away with the LA Dodgers and the San Diego Padres. And really, interestingly enough, the San Diego Padres are, they're not done. I mean, it's going to be tough, but they're not done. I want to just mention to everybody, the LA Dodgers are the number 1 over team in the league by far. It's just a hair under 63% of every one of their games goes over the total. 7-3 to the over in their last 10. San Diego 4-6 to the over in their last 10. Here we have a situation where Tony Gosselin's on the mound. He's pitching against Lugo. This is an early game, 4:20 Eastern. Drew, how do we bet this?
Yeah, one singled out early game on the Monday slate, first game up for the week. And I'm on the Dodgers here, Prez. Can get them as high as +1, risk 100 to win 130. I like the stat with the Dodgers towards the over. It speaks to how they're hitting the ball really since the All-Star break. And they got Gonsolin on the hill. Look, his overall numbers aren't that great this season, guys. It's not like he gets these high strikeout numbers that the market really likes to bet on. He's pitching more to soft contact, and sure enough, his last time out, he went 5 innings, just 1 earned run. And the only time he faced the Padres this season, he went 5 innings, very strong, only gave up 2 hits. So the Friars bats have not seen Gonsolin very well this season. I like to use those two kind of, past performance metrics and look to bet on Gonsolin and the Dodgers today. Of course, they won that Sunday night baseball game last night. Early turnaround here. Going up against Lugo, and his numbers are pretty good on the season, but the last 3 lineups he's faced, especially recently. So I think that's why the market's kind of coming here on the Padres, getting this big plus price on the Dodgers. They're liking Lugo over Gonsolin. And I guess I'm going to be a contrarian here, and mainly because the last 3 lineups that Lugo has faced is the Tigers, the Pirates, and the Rockies. So he's taken a big step up in class, having to face the Dodgers here. Plus, hey, the Dodgers have smashed righties this season. So getting the Dodgers at +130, I think the underdog's barking here in Petco in the first game of the week, Prez.
Let me ask you this, Drew, because last year, San Diego also had a very slow start, a rough start. We were looking at the Padres at the All-Star break going, this team's really underachieving. And they came on like a freight train down the stretch. Do you see that potential this year for San Diego? Right now they're 3 games out of the last wild card spot. They're certainly not out of it. And on paper, they're better than all the teams ahead of them in that chase. On paper, they're probably as good or better than the Dodgers. Is there hope for San Diego over the back 50-something games of the campaign, or is this team likely to play mediocre baseball through the end of the campaign?
Well, it's an interesting concept, and sure, potentially could they? Absolutely. And if that happens, kind of the betting strategy I use, and to tell you the truth, Teddy, I believe you would somewhat agree here, is when that happens, then you change your kind of approach towards betting the Padres. The only thing here, and I'm looking it up now, the Padres, guys, they're down nearly 20 units on the season. So, when you say on paper they're supposed to be better, sure, they were supposed to win, 92 games before opening day here, Teddy. And they're sitting, 2 games under 500 going into play today. If you've been going with that, hey, the Padres are going to turn it around type of handicap, you've lost a whole lot of money. To tell you the truth, there's probably nobody still doing that because they lost their entire bankroll doing that this season. If the Padres go and rattle off 4 or 5 wins here, Teddy, yeah, sure, I would take a breath and not look to bet against them in that next game. But as of right now, going up against the Dodgers, who are pretty much on the other side of things, 64 wins already this season. I don't know. I guess I would just say I don't handicap that way. So asking the Padres to lay near minus 150 here against the Dodgers, I just think they're overpriced. They're overpriced this season, and they're overpriced today, in my opinion.
Drew Martin joining us, everyone. You can find him at WagerTalk.com. Drew, before we get into your next game, Wizanowski writes, is Ben Burns a real person? I never see him on air. He's always golfing in Mexico, skydiving in Europe, snorkeling in a shark tank, and drinking Dos Equis. That's awesome. What a great comment. And Ben Burns is a real person. He's a nice guy. I've known him for 20-something years. He just doesn't want to do videos. And I respect that. Not everybody loves the camera like I do. And let me tell you, I would spoon a camera. I love cameras so much. So yes, Ben Burns is a real person, and he works with Allie Burns, and she represents the Burns Report on air. Drew, the day after Ohtani was not traded, some really handsome stud muffin got on Wager Talk Today. No names. He's the host. He got on Wager Talk Today and he said, well, I'll speak in first person. I'm a religious man, and I believe in the religion of irony. And I believe LA Angels are a bet against team moving forward. Now, all hell broke loose in the chat room. I got screamed at. I don't know what I'm talking about. I got yelled at. I'm an idiot and a moron, and they are currently 3-8. 3-8 since I made that comment. They're playing the San Francisco Giants tonight. Dude, is LA going to turn this around and start winning? Swept 4 games in a row from Seattle, a team that they are in a playoff chase against. What the hell do we do here?
I think we bet the under here, Prez. I really do, man. I know that's going to be kind of a little, I guess, off the radar because people are going to talk about the Angels being 0-6 to start August. They haven't won a game, and we're already, the 7th day of the month here. But they do have Pablo Sandoval on the hill. It's a West Coast game at night. We get 8.5 as the total, and they're going up against the Giants with Logan Webb on the hill here, guys. Logan Webb has gone back-to-back 7 innings, giving up 3 earned and 2 earned against 2 good offenses in the Red Sox and the Diamondbacks. So he's pitching well. And by a lot of metrics here, guys, the Giants, they don't hit very well. It's obviously in the numbers. They're one of the worst teams against lefties. They're facing a lefty tonight. That's why I don't want to lay the price tag with the Giants. but their bullpen, by a lot of metrics, is the best bullpen in baseball. So the late innings runs might be tough to come by. Overall, 8.5 adds the total here, Prez. And lastly, trends aren't everything here, guys. But we got a 1-8 under trend for the Giants. And for the Angels, it's 2-8 towards the under. So that's 3-16 combined. Unders have been cashing between these two teams. 8.5 the total. West Coast that night. Bet the under here, Prez.
So, I mean, this one makes a ton of sense to me, Drew. And I can't talk anyone out. I was looking for follow-up questions. And the only follow-up question I can come up with to try to think of it, this line opened 8, and the sharp money pushed it to 8.5. You know, there was big sharp money on this over in the overnight hours. Any idea why or what they're looking at that we're not? Because it's a game that stands out as an under to me.
You know, Teddy, I might not be the best guy to ask about that because, well, last night, I mean, one of the key offshores did have 8.5 and it didn't really move. But I don't disagree with you because a lot of the other books were at 8. And now this morning I saw it at 8.5. Look, man, when I'm seeing it well in baseball like I am right now and it's a 0.5 point move, all I can say, Teddy, is okay, me against you. Let's go, market. And it's been working out right now. I just, if you handicap only by that, it is a little bit lazy. It's just looking at this. You know, you'll see people on TikTok, on Twitter, like, oh, the sharp money's coming here. It's just because they're looking at an on screen like WagerTalk and saying, hey, that's a sharp move or whatever. And I don't know. It doesn't matter that much to me. I would rather go after the nuts and bolts of the handicap. And that's telling me to bet the under here, Teddy.
Yeah, I'm so with you on that, Drew. I think that's such a look. What worries me about the under is it's just so damn obvious. Drew Martin, everybody, 11-2 run in baseball. He's seeing everything great. It is $9 Mondays. Do you have anything available for our clients?
Oh, I got the $9 Monday big bet up and ready to go. 11-2, 85%, guys. The last 2 weeks, so I've kind of been low volume and really hitting the bookies pretty hard here. And plus over 70%. Going back to the beginning of last season on all plays for sell, 3% or higher on MLB money lines. And that's the next one's up tonight. You can get it for just $9, heavily discounted here. And college football in the NFL will be up by the end of the week here, guys, as we got preseason coming in. NFL opening line reports starting today as well with Teddy Covers and myself, and college football being with the season win total starting by Friday. So check that out as well. Drew Martin, WagerTalk.com.
What a show, everybody. Unbelievable stuff. All baseball today. Thank you all for watching the show. The guys who log on live, we really appreciate it. Please hit that like button, guys. It's really important to us. Subscribe to our channel. Tell your friends about us. A lot of you guys are asking about the daily presidential address. We are 3 weeks away from bringing it back. Stay with us. It's coming. Teddy, I love having you on, even though you annoy the shit out of me. Shout out to Marco, Brian, and Drew. My brother, take us home.
That's going to wrap it for the Monday edition of Wager Talk Today. Stay tuned right here on Wager Talk TV for the opening line report that we recorded at a few minutes, and it'll be posted later in the day, as well as all of our quality content on the Wager Talk TV YouTube channel. Enjoy the games. Best of luck tonight. We'll see you guys tomorrow.